What's up, airplane collectors? Welcome to a model airplane review. I'm your host, Ray. Today, I'll be reviewing the 1 to 400 scale Spirit Airlines Airbus A320 made by NG Model. Item number 15037, released for October of 2023. In this video, I'll review the model, after which I will list off its pros and cons. At the end, I will decide whether or not I recommend this model to other collectors. The box is made from cardstock. The packaging on the inside is made from clear plastic. This box measures 12.7 centimeters long, 3.5 centimeters wide, and 12.7 centimeters tall. I'll show you around the box now. This is the front. Here's the bottom, right side, top, left side, and the back side. Included in the box is the model as shown here, fully assembled, painted, and ready to display. Also included is an NG Model Collector Rewards program card. Here's the model itself. Let's do a quick 360. The fuselage length for this model is 9.3 centimeters. The wingspan is 8.5 centimeters, and the height is 2.9 centimeters. These dimensions are accurate to 1 to 400 scale. This model is made primarily out of die-cast metal, and it features some plastic components. The wheels on the landing gear are made out of rubber. Let's begin the review with the fuselage. The nose shape on this model is correct and accurate to the real deal. There's a lot of small pad printed details up here, all of which look very nice and most importantly are also accurate. Let's move down the fuselage. We start seeing the large Spirit title there. Notice how there aren't any marks or scratches in the Spirit logo like the old Spirit logo. This is one of the newer ones, and this is accurate. It's not one of the old Bearfair liveries. And so far so good. The vertical stabilizer features a lot of recessed panel line detail. Honestly, I think it's a little bit overkill, but I guess it is accurate in some way, but it looks good regardless. There's nothing really filled in per se. The Spirit title looks nice, as does the silver paint here on the leading edge. No complaints. Here is the right side of the fuselage and vertical stabilizer. It's pretty similar to the left side, but you will notice some differences in stenciling and small printed details here on the right side. But overall, everything I've said about the left side is applicable to the right side. No complaints so far. The wings in this model are also very nice. The recessed panel lines for the control surfaces, both here on the trailing edge and the leading edge, are clearly defined and accurately shaped. We see several different paint colors up here, although I do see some texturing in the gray paint here. Not that it's an issue, but it's not something I usually see. The paint colors here look good. I'd say the dark gray paint here is a little bit too blue, if that makes sense. It could be, I guess, more of a gray color. It's not 100% accurate, but it's really not that big of a deal either. And of course, we have more pad printed markings up here, all of which look very nice. I don't really see anything too bad up here. I don't see anything worthy of complaining about. Let's move to the underside of the wing. We don't have any pad printed markings down here, but everything else looks pretty nice. The attachment with the fuselage is decent. I do see a tiny little gap between the seam, but that is nothing to complain about. Most importantly, the wing is attached firmly and the structural integrity is not compromised in any way. The wingtips are, oh wow, I didn't see that. Looks like the wingtip fence on the left side here was broken or cut off at some point. I guess I never noticed this when I first got the model. This is very unusual, but on the right side, this isn't an issue. The wingtip fences are accurately shaped, but I guess this one here on the left wing got chipped off. Just like the vertical stabilizer, the horizontal stabilizers feature a lot of recessed panel lines, which again, I think it's overkill, but it looks pretty good regardless. There's some pad printed markings up here as well, and then silver paint on the leading edges. That looks very nice. The attachment with the fuselage of these parts is also very good. I don't see anything wrong with it. The APU back here has a small hole for the exhaust. That's very nice to see for a 1 to 400 scale model. And the dark silver paint looks very nice. At the bottom here, we can see the APU access doors at the bottom of the fuselage and some hair there. That's disgusting. And on the bottom of the horizontal stabilizers, there's no pad printed markings because there doesn't really need to be. The engines on this model are quite solid. The nacelle shape is correct and very accurate to that of the IAE V2500. That looks very nice. The pylon shape is good as with the printed detail, or not printed detail, but the different shades of silver and gray paint on there. That looks nice. I do believe the silver here is definitely a bit too dark. Same with, well, the exhaust nozzle, that looks fine. It's two different shades of silver. But yeah, the silver paint on the pylon, that's definitely a bit too dark. I think NG could have used a lighter shade there. The bottom of the nacelles feature a lot of detail, and as do the sides. And right by my finger there, you can see the engine strake. That looks very nice. I wonder if I have to talk about the outside here. The Spirit.com title is accurate. Now, I did mention earlier that this model features some plastic components, and one of those are the engine pylons. We can see by how easy they twist that this is not die-cast metal. That's not really an issue per se, but it's very easy to bend these parts, and they're very fragile, so please be careful when handling this model. Last but not least, the intake. We see the light silver on the inlet here, and then the fan detail looks very nice. This model features three-dimensional details on its fuselage in the form of antennas and domes. On the top of the fuselage, we have a large antenna right here. This is correctly sized and attached nicely. No complaints there. Here we can see some printed details here, a light and a small dome. And then here is the satcom dome. This is pretty good. I think the shape is mostly accurate to the real aircraft. I do see at the front here where it was cut off from the parts tree, but that's not that big of a deal. And also, I do see signs of insufficient paint application by the, if you see where my pointer is pointing, you can kind of see a darker line. That is a sign of insufficient paint application. That's not that big of a deal though. And then one more of these larger antennas back here. I do see that this one's bent backwards a little bit, but that's no biggie. And again, more hair. And here's this very small antenna right here. This is also accurate. Now on the bottom of the fuselage, we only have one of these three-dimensional details, and that's this large antenna right here. This looks pretty good. I do see some glue around the attachment point, but that's not that big of a deal. I'm going to pan the camera across the bottom of the fuselage. Take a moment to appreciate the level of pad printed detail down here. It's very extensive and very nicely executed. No complaints at all. Now moving on to the landing gear. The landing gear on this model is permanently extended. As mentioned earlier, the wheels are made out of rubber and they do roll very smoothly. The struts look nicely detailed. I do see that Flash is filling in some of the gaps for the struts. That's not that big of a deal. Most importantly, the struts are accurate in shape, as are the gear doors, and they hold up the model firmly. Same deal with the nose gear. I do see it's tilted forward a little bit too much. On the A320, the nose gear is supposed to be tilted forward, but not this much. I also see the same deal with the nose gear doors. Those are tilted forward a bit as well. And you can even see the fleet number on there. That's a very small printed detail. But yeah, the nose gear overall is very solid. Here's the side of the model. Here we can see how the model sits on its landing gear. I do see that the fuselage is slightly angled forward. This is correct. The main gears are angled slightly backwards, maybe a little bit too much, but I think this is still acceptable. And like I mentioned earlier, the nose gear is angled forwards a bit more than it needs to be, but it should be angled forwards like on the real aircraft. Up here, I can see that the gear balance might be a bit off because the cockpit windows are tilted, the vertical stabilizer is also tilted, both of them to the left side of your screen or the right side of the aircraft. Engine clearance looks good. Wing flex is acceptable, so is the horizontal stabilizer angle. It's just that gear balance, or it could just be a mix of vertical stabilizer angle and cockpit window angle. That concludes my review. Let's go over the pros and cons. What did NG Model do well on this model right here? Overall, pretty much everything. I also forgot to mention paint application and the paint colors. Those are 100% accurate and they're executed very nicely. I didn't really see any paint defects anywhere. This is a simple livery, so they better not have any paint issues. There's also lots of fine detailing on the top of the wings, all over the fuselage, especially in the bottom. That was very good to see. And overall, the shape of this model, the tooling used to make this model is accurate to that of the A320 family. I believe that this one is probably the best one in the 1:400 scale market right now. In terms of cons, the only issues that I did see were the color on the dark gray color on the top of the wing. That wasn't perfect. Same deal with the pylon. The silver was a bit too dark. And the chipped wingtip fence. That is a very unusual defect, and this is definitely a one-off issue. This is not something that you consistently see, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. Taking all of this into consideration, I absolutely recommend this model to my fellow collectors. It's a very nice replica of the Spirit A320, and I think it's pretty solid. It's very good. Like I said, I think this one is the best on the 1:400 scale market right now. Well, that's all I've got for today. Thanks for watching. As always, if you have questions or feedback, be sure to leave a comment below. If you're new to the channel and you want to show some support, like this video and subscribe so you never miss another upload. While you're here, feel free to watch my other videos about the scale models I collect. Happy building, happy collecting, please take good care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.